I'd like to call the December meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission to order. Paula, would you please call the roll?
Alan Brown. Jeffrey Parks.
Present.
Suzanne Broadbent. Heather Clemens.
Present.
Neela Crank-Clements.
Present.
Greg Eddington.
Present.
George Massey.
Present.
Mary Jo Meacham. Ann Zachritz.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. The meeting procedures are listed on the back of the agenda. I encourage you to review them. For information about the process of today's meeting, following public hearings on an application, the Commission will take one of the following actions. 1, approve the certificate of appropriateness. 2, continue the proposal. 3, deny the proposal with prejudice, which means that the application may not be resubmitted for at least 1 year unless the Commission determines that circumstances have changed. The 4th option today is to deny the proposal without prejudice, which means that the applicant may reapply at any time. When an application has been approved after a 10-day protest period has expired, the Historic Preservation Officer will mail the certificate of appropriateness to the applicant. City construction permits cannot be issued until the CA has been issued, and contact HP staff for final design review, inspection, or to withdraw items that will not be completed. Any person aggrieved by a decision granted or denying a CA may appeal to the Oklahoma City Board of Adjustment. All appeals shall be made within 10 days of the Commission decision by filing written notice with the clerk of the BOA. And information, again, is on the back of your the agenda for today's meeting. And I would please ask that you turn off or silence your cell phones for the meeting. Thank you. Items from the Office of the Historic Preservation Officer.
Only one item. We have a workshop this Friday scheduled for all of our design review commissions and committees, including Planning Commission, Board of Adjustment, Arts Commission, that will be a half day at the Cox Center, starting with breakfast at 7:30 and then starting the real meeting content at 8. That's all.
Thank you. Acceptance of minutes from the previous meeting from November the 2nd, 2016. Are there any comments or corrections to the meeting?
Move to accept.
Second. I have a motion to accept from Neela Crank-Clements, a second from Ann Zachritz. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Code enforcement reports. Do we have code enforcement staff with us today?
That staff is not available today. I will remind everyone that as you look through these, if a citation number is listed, then that is has proceeded from a notice of violation to an actual citation, and you can go on the city's website or call the city's action center to find out more about the status of that citation, and call or email staff if you have questions about a particular property.
All right, moving on. No previously announced uncontested requests. Were there any new requests?
No new requests.
Okay. Moving on to public hearings. Item Part 6A1, dilapidated structures.
C16-70835 at 624 Northwest 22nd, Mesta Park, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of development services to receive Historic Preservation Commission comments regarding garage structure in the process of being declared dilapidated as initiated by the City of Oklahoma City Development Services Code Enforcement pertaining to 1, properties that contribute to the historic integrity of the historic district, and 2, effective proposed demolition of structure on the historic character of the property and district. Refresher, when structures are being declared dilapidated by the city, the HP Commission does not have the ability to review a certificate of appropriateness for the demolition. We are given the opportunity to comment upon the impact of the historic structure on the property and the district.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from Commission?
I would, how do you make a motion to forward? Is that how you say it? I would make a motion to forward staff's recommendations, which include the following. 1, the structure retains its historic integrity and contributes to the historic integrity of the district. And 2, demolition of the structure will have an adverse effect on the historic character of the district.
Second.
Motion to forward comments from Mary Jo Meacham and a second from Heather Clemmer. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
No National Register nominations this month. Then we have 4 items on the consent docket, and we did receive neighborhood comments from Mesta Park on each of these.
I'm going to vote against one of these if that means we need to consider it separately.
Yes. Which one shall we pull?
Number 3.
Okay. Are there any other items on the consent docket the commission wishes to consider individually? Okay.
No, so I would move to approve items 1, 2, and 4.
Second.
Okay. You have a motion to approve items 1, 2, and 4 on the consent docket. I would ask, is there anyone in the audience today that wishes to speak on one of those 3 items? All right. Yes, please come forward. Please, as you come forward, make sure that you sign in on the pad and announce your name and address for the
Do you
commission.
want me to speak first or sign in first?
Please sign in first. That way we get that business out of the way.
Good afternoon. My name's John Woods. I own the property adjacent to 625 Northwest 19th. And this may not be the proper forum to do this, but I'm going to ask anyway. This application originally concerned a flat roof on a property that has now paved the entire back area, as you can see. So drainage is a concern. I'm to the south and downhill from this property. Flat roof retains a little more water, means there's going to be more runoff even than before when it was a concern and actually caused flooding in adjacent yards. I'm just wondering what, if any, study by staff or what concern, how was that concern addressed if it was addressed?
From the Historic Preservation Commission, when it comes to runoff, that's not something that we're particularly involved with. I don't know, Katie, do you have any?
We have language in the guidelines that talks about the importance of ensuring that water is not directed towards adjacent historic structures. It's not something that staff or the commission has a lot of technical expertise in, so it is kind of on the shoulders of property owners to handle that responsibly. I don't think we have we haven't done a lot of study between the difference with water runoff with a flat roof versus a pitched roof. Obviously, there's going to be a difference there, and the water is going to have to be directed somewhere with a flat roof versus a pitched roof.
Well, my concern, I guess, is more pointed than that. The reason that the application has gone forward, is my understanding is that they're having trouble with flooding right now because they've got no place for it to go. It all flows, so they want to flow it away from the property. Well, that becomes everybody else's problem. And I think it's a little short-sighted to just grant this without consideration of that aspect. We objected to the paving the entire backyard, too, because that certainly violates the code as it was written and as it is written today. But they did that. They got that through, and that's, so be it. I'm just saying that pushing problems on everybody else is really not the way to conduct business. So that's all I have to say. I understand that you can't do anything, and so that becomes then the property owner's headaches, and they'll have to deal with it however they need to do it, I guess. Is that right?
I believe that is correct.
Okay, well, thank you for your time.
Any other questions or comments on the 3 items on the consent docket? All right, I have a motion, if I remember correctly, from Neela Crank-Clements to approve items 1, 2, and 4. Did I have a second on that?
It was me.
Okay, and a second from Greg Eddington. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, those 3 items are approved. We'll now take item number C3. Katie, if you would introduce that item.
HPCA 16-00150 at 901 Northwest 19th, Mesta Park, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of Micah Sterling for certificate of appropriateness to amend number 4, installation of skylight elective.
Okay. Questions from commissioners?
I don't have any questions. I'll just tell you why I asked for it to be pulled.
Sure.
It is visible, and by the way, it has been installed now. There was the pictures of tape on the roof, but they went ahead and did it before they got approval. So it is visible from the street and from the sidewalk, which is prohibited under the guidelines. There was a unique circumstance in the staff report that I just didn't find especially compelling, and so that's why I'm going to vote against it.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on this item from the audience or from the commission? If not, I would entertain a motion, one way or the other.
Well, I can move to deny if nobody's going to, but okay, I will. Move to deny HPCA 16-00150, and I think it would be with prejudice.
I will say, I believe the applicant is not here today, so they do have 2 continuances. If we were able to continue it for a month and allow them to research if there are some alternative locations for it or ways to minimize the visibility rather than denying it without them having had an opportunity to respond.
That's fine with me. So I'll move to continue HPCA 16-00150 until the which meeting?
January 4th.
The January 4 meeting.
Second.
The motion for continuance from Greg Eddington, second from Ann Zacharitz. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that item is continued to January 4th. On to cases for individual consideration.
If you were items 1, 2, or 4 on the consent docket, then you have been approved and you are free to go. And you will get documentation from staff of your approval after the meeting. Individual consideration. Number 1, HPCA 16-00100 at 1422 Northwest 36th Street, Putnam Heights, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Bradley and Catherine Davenport for certificate of appropriateness to 1, replace garage door elective.
I need to abstain.
Okay, thank you. Staff had recommended denial for this application with prejudice. I think we've seen this a number of times, and if I remember, they're out of continuances and without any further documentation. That was appeared to be a
Yes, that's
logical
correct.
Okay, conclusion. Any questions or comments from commission on this case?
And I move to deny HPCA 16-00100 with prejudice, with the specific findings in the staff report.
Second.
Is that with prejudice?
Yes.
I have a motion for denial with prejudice from Greg Eddington, second from Neela Crank-Clements. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
HPCA 16-00110 at 807 Northwest 24th Street, Paseo, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Min Hu Thai by Tammy Thai for certificate of appropriateness to 1, replace driveway required, and 2, install carport required. The carport that was initially proposed has already, that had been installed without a CA, has been removed. And we can do, we will do an administrative approval for the removal of the carport to close that out. At the previous meeting, the commission asked the applicant to provide dimensions for the driveway, and they've since provided that it is 10 feet from the approach and then widens to approximately 16 feet along the side of the house. I'll also note, which I think we knew at the last meeting, that the portion of paving in front of the house that kind of led the sidewalk all the way up to the front wall of the house has been removed, so there is now a landscaped area there in front of the house.
So Katie, they're just going, can you go back to the last picture, Paula? One more back, please. That one. So are they now going to remove the portion from those, it looks like bricks that are stuck in the ground at the edge of the house and forward of the trash can, from there to the white car back? They're going to remove all of that paving?
So that is what staff has recommended as a condition of the approval all along. They have not agreed to do that, and I don't know that anyone is present. Oh, okay. If you would like to come forward and address that question.
Because I don't think we can approve it with that condition.
Right, we would
I
not be able
wouldn't be
to approve it without the applicant acknowledging that they would agree to that.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm his daughter, so yeah, I just come here. Yeah, we just want to know what else do we have to fix to get him done. Like, do we have to take more out, or is pretty much done, or what else do we have to do? Because we're not requesting anything else, like
Right.
the carpool is already out and stuff like that.
So staff can administratively approve a driveway up to 10 feet in width, and that's the typical width of a driveway in many of these neighborhoods. So this driveway goes all the way up to 16 feet and extends all the way to the wall of the house. So what staff's recommendation had been was to remove 6 feet of the paving that goes along the side of the house so that the driveway is never any wider than 10 feet.
Okay, so from the house to outside where the car is, that's where we have to remove to about 6 feet, you say?
Yes, that was my recommendation if the commission agrees with that.
Okay, that's all we want to know.
Since she does agree with that, I think we need a site plan that shows exactly, I mean, she's verbally agreed with it, but we need to show it on a site plan.
I think we can work with
Draw
them to
that.
get that to staff, yeah.
And page 7 of 8, that is showing the new landscaped area, I assume, right?
Oh, okay.
Then I would move to approve HPCA 16-00110 to replace driveway with the specific findings and the condition that's listed in the staff report. In addition to that condition, I would say that the applicant needs to work with staff on a site plan showing exactly what portion of the concrete needs to be removed that's in excess of 10 feet wide up to the house.
Second.
All right. A motion from Neela Crank Clements for approval with condition. Second from Ann Zacharitz. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you.
HPCA 16-00111 at 209 Northwest 32nd Street, Edgemere Park, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Frank Crabtree by Richard Cody of American Home Services for certificate of appropriateness to, 1, replace front windows required. The only additional information I have to report on this one since the last time the commission has seen it is that the applicant did confirm that the windows that have been installed are simulated divided light and do not meet the guidelines. But they did not propose any resolution to that.
Okay.
Is this they only had one continuance?
No, they're out of continuances.
Okay.
This is the third time we've seen it.
Any additional questions or comments?
And no one's here to speak.
Is anyone here to speak on this item?
Okay, then I move to deny with prejudice HPCA 16-00111 with the specific findings in the staff report, section E.
Second.
A motion for denial from Greg Eddington, second from Neela Crank Clements. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item is denied.
HPCA 16-00130 at 204 Northwest 20th Street, Heritage Hills, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of Brandon Swearingen Renovations, Inc. by Rita and Al Dearman for certificate of appropriateness to 1, install wrought iron security bars and hardware on door required, and 3, paint brick edging required. We did receive comments from the neighborhood supporting both of these items, actually.
Staff had recommended approval on item 3, painting the brick, and a continuance on item 1, installing the ornamental bars at the door. Questions from the commission on either of these items?
I'm just wondering, I guess I need to be educated. The HP Preservation Review Committee says that the homeowner asserts that the ornamental wrought iron piece, or bars that we're calling them, the piece is artistic and not permanently affixed. I'm wondering how that works. How is it attached then? Is it not screwed in?
I believe the applicant is here and can tell us in more detail, but I think it is screwed in with 6 little screws.
Applicant? Yeah, please come forward and be sure you sign in.
Yes, I'm Brandon Swearingen. That is temporarily installed. It's not actually fixed. It's not soldered into the door whatsoever. It is 6 screws that actually anchors that decorative piece onto the door.
So I'm just trying to reconcile this impermanent way to attach them with staff's interpretation that really the guidelines just say security bars on doors must not be visible. Are these security bars or are they an art piece?
See, I think that's the that's the difference. The discrepancy. I don't feel that there are security bars. I feel that we custom made that to mock one that he previously owned on 16th Street. More decorative, more so than security bars themselves. That window on either side of the door, actually, those are. If we are worried about security, we would, want to cover those up as well. That glass is a lot. Thinner than that front door glass on there. So, if we were worried about security or wanted a security piece, we would have put security bars on those as well.
Is the door original?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
I know it seems. I would just say if you came to us with the door and the decorative element for approval as a replacement, I don't think that we would approve that. So that just makes me believe that even though the owner feels like it's ornamental, and it may well be, it is still a part of the design of the door. And it's obscuring if that door is original, then it's really obscuring the design of the door with the bars. And if half the people think it's design and the other half think it's, for security, it seems like it falls in the guidelines as not allowed, in my thinking.
As either way, as decorative or as
Right.
as
I mean, it wouldn't,
security,
if
right.
you came to us and said, we like it, or we want to decorate, to me, I think you're asking, can we decorate an original door and make it look better? If going with the decorative idea. And I think in most cases, prior to the installation, we would say, no, we would not approve adding more non-historic material to a historic door. So that's my thought.
I agree, and I view the bars are in violation of Regulation 3.5.2 as well as 3.5.12, so I can't support them.
Yes, please. I was going to step up here.
I'm Al Dearman. I'm the owner of the house. I'm the one that paid for that to be on the door.
I'm sorry, sir.
I lived.
Sorry, could you please, what is your name?
Al Dearman.
Okay. And could you please be sure and sign in on our list on the podium?
Okay. I am the owner of the house and the one that paid for that. The house that I lived in for 30 years was 436 Northwest 16th Street. The owner previous to me at that house was Neil Horton. At the time I bought that house, I had bars on the front door, just like that. The difference being those bars are more than 3 times heavier than those, and they required 20 screws, 5 on the top, 5 on the bottom, 5 on the side. It was an inherited deal. I found those bars quite useful. The reason being, because with Oklahoma winds, if you are like my wife and I, we like to put out things on our front door to celebrate the holidays. Whichever holiday it is, there's at least 6 that we regularly celebrate. At Christmas, we will hang wreaths, not wreaths, but well, around the door. You know what I'm trying to say. These, and because you have something solid there, you can hang those in the Oklahoma wind. You make your ties behind bars, so your ties aren't hanging there showing out. And it is a use, you can't drive a nail in the glass, needless to say, to hang anything. And if you drive nails in the wood, then, they're going to rust out. You're going to be driving different nails every time you try to hang something on it. I recognize, let's face it, I came to this neighborhood about, within 3 years of when it first was made a historical neighborhood. And there was great concern about, if we have bars on the windows and so forth, people will think it's a high crime neighborhood. And the reason being that they were worried was that downtown at that time, was after 5 o'clock was dead. I mean, there was no one there. And so, I think that's why you'll find it in your book that it's not supposed to be there. But I think it's lived its purpose as far as Heritage Hills is concerned. We are a safe neighborhood. We pay to have 18 hours a week of coverage by off-duty policemen. We have no real crime problem other than, like any neighborhood, maybe a car parked on the street might get broken into. But in any event, that has a use to me, a use to my wife. I don't know how I'm going to, celebrate a holiday without driving nails in the wood to hang something on if I don't have it. And I would sincerely ask that you reconsider. And I apologize for not being here the last time to talk to you. But I hate to say it, but I'm going to be 79 this month. And and I had, before I closed the house, I had an operation on my leg. Then I closed the house, and before I got moved, had to have a hernia operation. Times have not been easy on me, but I do appreciate you hearing me, and last time putting it in continuance and letting me be here to tell you why. I would appreciate very much the fact that I think this is a worthwhile deal, not something that is granted. You can have burglar bars that really look like burglar bars. That I don't think does. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments and follow-up to that? It may be a struggle for us to get to the point to think of that as something, it's an ornamental piece that's been added to the original material that appears not to be allowed in the guidelines. So I struggle to find where a unique circumstance would be to allow that. But curious if the Commission has any other question or comment.
When I look at it, I see a way to secure the glass. In other words, they appear to be security bars to me. I struggle, too, with recognizing that as an art piece or as just a means to attach holiday ornamentation. Mr. Dearman, did you do any research to see if there were historically decorative bars, security bars on this front door? Okay, would you mind coming up to the podium, please?
No, ma'am, I didn't do anybody else's front doors. I didn't go around.
Well, I mean,
but
on this door.
looking throughout the neighborhood, since this came up, I have walked through the neighborhood, and there are many, many, many doors that have these on them. But, to say when they were put there and so forth, I cannot say. I have no knowledge.
If we were to continue this item to give you time to do a little bit of research on this specific property, would you be willing to do that?
I wouldn't know where to begin. This property was going to be, I may be wrong, but I think this property was before Brandon started, was going to be demolished. I would know where to start. I hate, you have a rule in the book, I know. What I'm being told, what it says. But by the same token, perhaps that rule has outlived its usefulness. It's kind of like you go see signs that say, neighborhood watch area. Well, who does that talk to? Does it tell the crook, you better not come into our neighborhood because people are watching? Or does it tell the home buyer, well, I don't want to be there, I don't, we are a very safe neighborhood. I cannot walk out in the morning to pick up my papers without runners running past me at 6 in the morning. Not every neighborhood is safe. And I can't tell you what to do. I only ask for your indulgence in regard to this.
And I think the commission is struggling to find a way to provide that indulgence. And, one way that we do is if there's some historic evidence that this front door might have at some point had bars on it that lend itself to the historic nature of the property, then we might consider that. But I think as an added element to the historic door on the house, we are not going to be able to find a way to do that without that.
I will try to see if I can work up some research for you. Okay. I appreciate all the help I can get, needless to say, in this. I thank you.
We're trying. We're trying.
Okay.
Thank you.
We can continue to January 4th or to February 1st. Do you have a preference of date of continuance? It's either January 4th or February 1st. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
I would move to continue item 1 NHPCA 16-00130 to the February 1st meeting.
If we find evidence that the door was not original, would that help us out by adding these bars? If we do some research and find out that door was not original, so we're not adding a decorative piece to an original door. It was already changed out at some time. I'm just trying to find out what we should be looking at. So that would help us out a little bit as well.
I think you'd still run up against guideline 3.5.12 that reads security bars on doors must not be visible. That's, if anyone else has a thought.
I agree.
And there's no way to, security bars or decorative, there's no line there, or there's no specific verbiage of what you consider security and what you secured decorative as in his original door.
I see security bars. I mean, I don't know what other commissioners see.
And
that's what they have.
in the other ones, if we bring pictures of other doors where they look a lot more so like security bars, even though they might be original to the home, there are security bars. Would that give us?
I think that we're struggling to try to find a unique circumstance, but even if, for myself, approaching it from a decorative standpoint, if you looked at the style of the house and the type of decoration, it still is difficult to find a way to make that work. And when you compare it to other ones, then it could be people that did it without permission, that weren't reported. It could be, they last a long time, so they could have actually been installed prior to, the deal.
Thank you for the continuance of it. We will try to gather that information for you.
I have a motion from Neela Crank Clements. Do I have a second to continue item 1?
Second.
A second from Greg Eddington. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Item 1 is continued. Item 3, painting the brick edging.
I make a motion to approve HPCA 16-00130, item 3, to paint the brick as stated by staff in the recommendations with the specific findings listed by staff.
Second.
I have a motion from Mary Jo Meacham for approval. Second from George Massey. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, item 3 is approved. All right, I have had a request has been made to reconsider item 2 of a case that we heard previously, HPCA 16-00110 at 807 Northwest 24th Street, related to the driveway width for consideration of a 12-foot rather than the approved 10-foot wide driveway. This request requires a few things. One, a motion to reconsider this item, and then if approved, then we'll have to have a motion to rescind the action, and then a new motion if warranted. If the commission would like to consider that, I would entertain a motion to reconsider HPCA 16-00110.
Would we not be in the situation where we've been in a few times where perhaps people left who were interested in that one? Whether that's realistic or not, but that's what we've run into before.
The meeting is ongoing, and it is possible that someone has left. I don't know that anybody spoke to that item. No. So you...
So do I have a motion to reconsider this item?
I make a motion to reconsider HPCA, is it 807 24th? Is that? Okay. Item 16-00110 at 807 Northwest 24th Street.
Second.
A motion from Mary Jo Meacham, second from Neela Crank Clements to reconsider. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now I need a motion to rescind. Do we go ahead and rescind the previous action? Okay.
Should we do that before we've heard what they're asking for?
He announced that they wanted to have 12 feet rather than 10.
I make a motion to rescind the decision,
Previous action?
the previous action for HBCA 16-00110.
Okay. I have a second.
To rescind.
Second.
I have a motion to rescind from Mary Jo Meacham, second from Neela Crank Clements. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
All right, so to reconsider this item, the applicant has asked that rather than 10 feet wide, that it be changed to 12 feet wide. And is that going to be from the, where will that be to and from?
Mr. Chair, you may want to have the applicant actually express
Okay.
formally her...
Can you come forward and
Idea. Very good.
elaborate? Would it be 12 feet wide just from the corner of the house back, that part where it goes to 16 feet?
Yes. Because the driveway is still 10 feet wide, so the only thing we have to fix is where the house is, like where the trash can is before the picture.
Right.
So we just want to see if we can make that, instead of 10 all the way in, can we just make it 12 and just take 4 feet out instead of taking the whole 6 feet out?
I don't think the guidelines would support that. Guideline 2.3.12 says driveways 8 feet or less in width may be replaced by a driveway of up to 10 feet in width. It does say width may vary as the driveway approaches the garage to correspond with the width of the garage door opening, but it appears that the garage door opening is probably no more than 8 feet. So I don't see a special circumstance that would allow me to approve a 12-foot wide driveway.
I have a special circumstance that I would suggest in that looking at the situation, that I would suggest asking for a sidewalk on the side of the of the driveway, because it would appear right now that it would be difficult to get out of a car and get to the sidewalk without stepping in a, if they took the whole 6 feet out, you would be stepping into the grass. So I would say as a special, I would ask for it to be amended to like a 24-inch sidewalk at the side of the garage so that you could walk up and down. Is that possible?
I'll note that the 10-foot limit is for administrative approval, that staff can approve up to 10 feet in width. The commission can exercise some more discretion on, and frequently does, on approving wider driveways when the circumstances allow.
Right. The other is when
Yeah.
you look at the when you look at the photograph, it looks like that the 10 feet is not even lining up with the side of the left side of the garage. So at a minimum, it seems like we should allow the driveway to be as wide as the garage at that point. I mean, they've done the 10 feet to that point, but it just seems like that there should be, if they took out the whole thing, then there'd just be a big grass path back to the gate, and it wouldn't match. So it seems like, I would say maybe they could come back once again with maybe a new plan for a sidewalk that lined up with the garage, and if there's a gate. I think part of the problem from the beginning has been the lack of specific drawings. We've looked at more pictures and kind of drawings, so I feel like I would suggest that it would be in your benefit to continue. Can we continue one more time?
I think they actually are out of continuances at this point. If the direction from the commission is for it to be 10 feet plus a sidewalk that aligns with the west side of the garage, is that something that we could, they could submit to staff?
But I mean, it still seems like a troubling place. I mean, the design that we've got going right now, it goes from the right side of the garage. It seems only fair for the driveway to meet up with the left side of the garage. And in addition, at that part, at the side of the house, it seems like there should be the availability to design a sidewalk to get to the back and to link up with the other sidewalk. That's just my thought on it, but I think that it would be clear to everybody if you had a good drawing. I don't know. That's my, and I think it's been hard for us to get there, lack of drawings, so it's my suggestion.
I agree with that. I feel like each time we've seen this, it's like we still don't have what we need. So, but now we're out of continuances, so what's the option? We can deny it or we can approve it, right?
It's already been approved well, I guess we rescinded that. It was approved to go back to 10 feet. They could take that approval and amend it to increase that width, and we could consider that again.
But if that width is increased, Joe, you're talking about adding a sidewalk. Well, if it's attached to the driveway, isn't it a driveway, not a sidewalk? So then you end up with a 13-foot wide or 12-foot wide driveway?
Right. I mean, that's my suggestion is we really can't see where the gate, it just seems fair that there would be some kind of sidewalk to go to the gate in addition to the, driveway. But it's hard to tell even with this picture where the openings are. Is that a gate? Is there a gate right there at the end next to the garage?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, so,
Is
I mean, I would make maybe we could do this if we've rescinded, make a motion that the driveway from the front sidewalk to be a minimum, to be as wide as the garage, and when it gets to the gate, that there could be, 2 to 3 feet of sidewalk going to the gate. So then they'd have to cut out the rest of it.
So, Katie, that would leave it up to you then to get drawings and approve
I think that's fine. I think staff understands what you're asking for, and we can work with the applicant on that. It's not a complicated drawing. It's just making sure we understand.
So is it beneficial to have a strip of grass or landscaping between the driveway and the
that's
sidewalk?
what we're saying.
Okay, all right.
Oh, no,
Sorry.
between it?
Between them, right.
No, I'm not, now we're saying it's really not a sidewalk, it's just we're making a motion to widen the driveway to the width of the garage.
Okay.
With a small sidewalk at the top to go to the gate.
Okay.
So
that sidewalk doesn't continue all the way along the side?
No,
at the
now,
end.
I would really prefer for them to have more than that, but if that's all we can do without denying and starting over, I'm for that. If you want something more than that, I think we would have to deny and you would have to apply again because we're out of continuances. So it just depends on how much sidewalk that you want. You might get, I'm not saying you would, but it would be possible to have to show a more developed sidewalk and driveway plan if you came back, but right today we're kind of limited. So what I'm making a motion, what I've described, would that be what you would want? Would you be satisfied with that?
Well, I just want to see if we can just even it up with the garage. Just leave.
Okay, if you're happy with that, then,
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
okay, let's see, don't, I'll make a motion, let's see, let's say, place the driveway. I make a motion for HPCA 16-00110 to widen the garage, to widen the driveway to the width of the garage and provide a minimum or a maximum of 24-inch sidewalk from the driveway to the gate. Staff understand that? That's my motion. Oh, no. I don't have them in front of me. Katie? With the specific findings, not really sure, Katie. With the specific findings that the driveway needs to be the width of the, needs to align with the width of the garage. You all are, oh, and then it meets the guidelines as stated in the staff report?
Okay.
All right, I have a motion from Mary Jo Meacham. Do I have a second? I'm not hearing a second to the motion.
I will point out one thing. If you look at the photo on the very back page of your staff report, the seam in the concrete that you see is the 10-foot mark that is intersecting the garage doors. I know it's difficult to tell from the photos that are up on the screen.
Let me just say why I am not comfortable voting in favor of this 12-foot drive. The guidelines permit a 10-foot wide driveway. It's 8 feet and go up to 10 feet. They permit the drive widening at the garage approach. Typically, well, in many of our past cases, we've allowed that widening maybe 1 car length, maybe a little bit more. I don't think the drive needs to be widened all the way to the front wall of the house.
But if they had a if they had a 2-car garage, it would be as wide as, it would be 20 feet at that point.
Right.
So it seems like that it should be, at least be able to be as wide as the garage.
And I do agree with that, but what I'm saying is, it doesn't mean it needs to be that wide all the way to the front of the front wall of the house.
Typically, that flare happens.
That flare happens really close to the garage door. And the other point, I'm still a little confused on the sidewalk that, Mary Jo, you're talking about. If it's not physically detached from the driveway, it's not a sidewalk, it's a driveway. So now we're up to a 12-foot driveway.
No, it would just be a strip that goes in front of the gate, so you could walk on a side.
Is it attached to the driveway, or is it separate from the driveway?
It would be attached to the driveway, but it would just be 2 feet in front of the gate, so you could walk to the gate without walking through the dirt.
Not extending all the way to the front of the house, though.
No.
You're
front of the gate.
You're saying perpendicular to the driveway.
Yes, perpendicular to the driveway. Well,
then why do we need to extend the drive to a 12-foot width all the way to the front wall of the house?
I think we often see driveways that widen to match the width of the garage behind the back corner of the house, so that spread is not visible, and the driveway that you see from the street is perpendicular. Here, because of the location of the driveway, the location of the house, the location of the fence, if we were to allow them to widen it to the width of the garage at the garage, which is what we've typically done, and then make them taper to 10 feet, you're going to see that slope, which to me is actually less appropriate than a straight perpendicular driveway. And if that width comes all the way down to the front walkway and then tapers to 10, that may be less visually noticeable and less disruptive to kind of the rhythm of driveways than one that goes up and swoops out at some randomly selected point along the side of the house.
Thank you.
Okay. Motion still stands. Is there a second? When a motion has no second, it dies for lack of a second. Very good. All right. And I ask for if there's another motion that would like to be made. Thank you for the coaching.
I really feel at this point, because we've gone back and forth with this application so many times now, I would think I'm not comfortable moving forward and saying, okay, she can add this and that and just present it to staff. I really would think it best if we deny this application and you reapply with scale drawings. And you can do it by hand with the ruler. I mean, you don't have to hire an architect or anything. But because we've just not had that correct information from the beginning, and this has kind of gone back and forth so many times.
Now, we'd already approved it at 10 feet, so we could approve the 10 feet, and then we can talk after the meeting about look at what to do if you really do need more than the 10 feet and figure that out.
Okay. Then I move to approve HPCA, again, 16-00130, no, 16-00110.
I still have a problem that we're saying 10 feet, because if we just limit it to 10 feet, we're actually saying that it's going to go it's not going to go to the edge of the garage.
I think she needs to come back with a drawing, with a scale drawing. We need to know exactly what's where, what's going on.
So are we just going to deny? I don't understand the approval. At this point, it seems like that we're not.
So they're out of continuances, so we have to either approve it or deny it. So we can approve it at 10 feet, as we did previously, and then they can amend their CA.
Oh, they can amend it.
And they won't have to pay again if they amend it?
No.
Okay. That might be preferable to the applicant.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, so I move to approve HPCA 16-00110 with the specific findings and condition listed in the staff report.
Do you want to add a condition that specific drawings be provided to staff?
Well, if they amend it.
I know, but if it...
Whatever that second condition was, I added when I first made the motion. Do we still have record of that, Paula?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. I would like to add that too.
Just in case?
Yes.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second to this?
Second.
A motion from Neela Crank Clements, a second from Greg Eddington. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving back on track. Item 5.
HPCA 16-00139 at 419 Northwest 19th Street, Heritage Hills, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of Christina Mary Jolrick and Mark Mason Jolrick by Zeb Gutro for certificate of appropriateness to 11 replace front porch columns and rails, elective.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in the audience to speak to this application? Good.
Katie, staff report says that additional documentation and research was requested during the November meeting, and that additional documentation has not been submitted to staff. Is that still the case?
So between when the staff reports went out and today, the applicant did come in and meet with staff. They did discuss revising the design to incorporate the center wood column that you see in the photo, but we have not had the opportunity to receive documentation of that, but I'll let them further discuss.
Zeb Gotro, 419 Northwest 19th. Do you guys still have the picture, the old picture?
Yes, they do.
Can we see that?
I don't believe the old photo, the historic photo, is in the PowerPoint, but it's in the staff report.
Okay, well, it showed brick columns on the garage side. It also showed a short masonry wall at the front of the porch, and then it showed a shorter brick column with posts on top of it. We've actually found those exact posts at that house and intend to reuse those exact posts and do it exactly as the original photo.
That's great. So that the brick base to that will actually end up being taller than what it is today. Is that true?
Yes, it's a little taller. So the short wall butts into that, and it's a little bit taller than that short wall.
Yes.
And then there's, I want to say the columns on top of that are probably about 6 feet.
Okay.
But it's the original. It's the columns that you see in that photo.
Okay. So will you be adding brick to bring that?
Yes, and we have found a brick that is almost a perfect match. And there's actually, most of the brick they took off, they've repurposed around the property, and we found most of it.
Wow.
Have you prepared, are you going to be able to prepare or submit just new drawings for that porch, showing that?
I could do that. They'll be exactly like the photograph that you all have.
Right. I think, I would make a motion to approve if that was a condition, that you could submit that final drawing to staff to have it on record. Was that showing the change?
Is that something you can do?
I can get drawings. That's one. Yep.
Okay. Yes. That would be helpful, just so that the documentation that staff has and the documentation that people that go out to inspect the work, everybody's on the same page with what.
So with the drawings of what I just explained, we'll have no problem approving?
Yes.
That's correct.
I'm going to make a motion to approve HPCA 1600139, item 11, to replace the columns and construct the knee wall at the front porch and porte-cochere, with the specific findings noted by staff. With the condition that the applicant supply a new drawing of the porch as proposed and as shown in the historic photographs.
Second.
I have a motion from Mary Jo Meacham, second from Neela Crank Clements. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Application is approved. Thank you.
HPCA 16-00157 at 1000 Northwest 18th Street, Mesta Park, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of Patrick Crump and Kelly Whelan for certificate of appropriateness to 4, replace porch railing elective, 5, extend driveway elective, and 6, add porch steps elective.
Okay, is the applicant present? Right. It's interesting sitting in the back watching. Okay. Are there any questions for the applicant?
Regarding the driveway, staff had asked for a little bit more information pending approval, that to provide some documentation to know that this is a double wide, a driveway shared with you and your neighbor. Is that correct?
Yeah, the area next to our house is the only essentially parking on our portion of the property. So driving past our house and all the way through the back, it's a shared driveway through an easement.
Right, right. So I think they'd like some documentation on how much of that driveway is on your property versus your neighbor's.
We have that, after removing we had the flower bed removed when they were painting and restoring repainting the house. And after having it removed, we decided we really don't actually need one of the big issues we had was with the way the driveway was set up and how narrow it was, you couldn't fully open a car door and still allow the neighbor to have access to drive past your car. So we'd have to park our cars and only be able to open the portway. With that flower bed there that has gotten removed, that's really not an issue anymore. So we'd be happy if we can just withdraw that part of the application for now, the driveway extension, leave the concrete driveway as is, and just proceed with the other elements.
Excuse me, did you state your name?
Patrick Crump.
Okay, you're Patrick. Okay. So everybody, for the record. Okay.
Okay, so item 5 is withdrawn, and that just leaves item 4 to replace the porch railing and 6 to add the porch steps. And those are the porch steps that come down essentially into where the flower bed was
Right.
before.
Yes.
Off the end of the porch.
I think both of those requests are reasonable, and both are supported in the guidelines. Does anyone else have any comments? To the contrary? Okay, I would move to approve HPCA 16-00157, items 4 and 6, with the specific findings in the staff report. Okay, that's it.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Neela Clements and seconded by Heather Clemmer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, approved. Thank you. Next.
HPCA 16-00161 at 909 Northwest 19th Street, Mesta Park Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of Hearst Holdings LLC for certificate of appropriateness for construct garage.
Okay.
Good afternoon. David Box, 522 Colcord Drive. I'm here today on behalf of the applicant, Mr. Steve Hearst, who is also here. As you might recall, at your last meeting, there were some items that were approved, one item that was denied, and one item that was continued. The item that was continued is now before you today, and that is the garage. One of the reasons that the item was continued was to allow some additional research to be done as to the size of the existing garages in the area and within the district. My client, and what I'm handing out and has also been provided to staff, did some extensive research on a series of blocks, on a series of streets, and was able to find what we believe is some compelling arguments as to why the garage size that we propose is within the range allowed and what would be within the guidelines. So before I get into the details of that, I would like Steve to come up and explain what he did and how he came up with this evidence.
Hi again, Steve Hearst, 3901 Red Deer Crossing. As David stated last time, it was requested that I go do a garage survey for other garages in the surrounding area. So what I did was went and surveyed from the 700 block on 18th Street, 19th Street, 20th Street, all the way over to the 1000 block. What I found on there, what I attempted to do was take a ratio of garage size or ancillary structures together to the building size, which I think is a more appropriate measurement for how big your garage should be versus a lot size. Because different structures, if you have a 3,000 square foot house versus a 1,000 square foot house, your requirements for a garage would be different. So that's what I did, and you can see through the average of all those structures, it was 23.72% of the structure size, the garage and the ancillary buildings. And on the subject, we're at 23.51%. So we're right in the average of structure size.
What is the size of the proposed garage?
690.
690.
Which, it's not just a garage, there's a storage component to it. So,
It's an accessory building.
correct.
Okay.
I'd also like to submit that we received today the neighborhood committee information from Mesta Park, and they unanimously approved it. If that goes to any credence to what you guys are trying to do.
First of all, great research.
Well, thank you.
How'd you get all that information?
The assessor's website is
Really? That's a
very
lot of
good.
it. Yeah. So yours is 690?
That's correct.
And there are 5 at or above 690 in the area that you surveyed, which is, again, what were the boundaries of the area?
We went from 17th Street over to the 1000 block, or 700 block, excuse me, over to the 1000 block.
Okay.
that did not include second stories. There's several of those that have second stories that match the footprint. I understand that that doesn't impact your decision, but I think it's relevant to kind of what's going on over there.
So 18th to 20th, and then from
The
east-west?
700 block over to the 1,000 block.
700 to 1,000, okay. And you're at 909.
So I took the boundary, really the eastern boundary of Mesta Park, the actual park, all the way over to the 1,000 block. That was the most tangent portions of the study.
Okay, any comments?
Additionally, one of the comments you'll see in the staff report deals with the material of the garage door itself. My client is willing to modify that, and I believe in speaking with Katie, that can be done administratively. So whatever we need to change the actual garage door to, Mr. Hurst is willing to do that.
Okay.
Some of the things that we talked about previously that I'll bring up again. One of the unique things about this site is it's only accessed from the rear alley. The staff report says it's minimally visible. I think you'd be hard pressed to actually find a spot on 19th Street that you could see the garage. I mean, it's not visible. Additionally, the main structure is on the larger end of homes, certainly on the block, certainly in this portion of the neighborhood. So with that, it also provides blockage of seeing the garage. Staff does note that in their staff report. And as Steve said, the correlation of size of the main structure to the garage is an important element. And when you calculate what ours is, it's right within the average of what you see within those several streets and blocks that he surveyed. So with that, we do believe it's within the guidelines because of that.
So the additional factors are the level of visibility of a new garage and the size and massing of surrounding structures that may be considered.
The issue I have is, and I appreciate your research, and I know it must have been time-consuming, the ratio of the garage to the size of the house is not a consideration in 4.4.6. It's up to a total footprint of 450 square feet or 5% of the lot, whichever is greater. Perhaps the ratio is something that could be considered down the road if the regs were amended, but that's not what the regs currently provide.
Well, but you didn't read the entire reg. I mean, you stopped short of the last sentence that's on there that allows the discretion with this committee because it says additional factors including the level of visibility of the new garage and the size and massing of surrounding structures.
May be considered. It's permissive.
Well, sure, but it is there, and I think it's important to look at it. And if we go down to 4.4.8, it does say that it should relate to similar garages within the historic district as appropriate, which is why we took the continuance, and he spent considerable time and effort to prove that we are within the range, within the district.
When no photographic or other documentation of previous garage is available, new garage should be compatible in size, scale, proportion to the primary building.
And the staff report does say that the size of the historic garage is unknown.
There was another comment in the staff report that said something about it was believed it might be around 500. Do you know where that came from?
So on the Sanborn maps, the Sanborn maps were not drawn exactly to scale. That was not their purpose, as we've talked about with numerous cases before. But we do find them to be fairly accurate when we see buildings that are still there, that are represented on the Sanborn map. It looks like the historic garage was exactly half the width of the lot, and judging by the depth, we felt like it was easily in the 450 to 500 square foot range.
I would like to add that I've seen a lot of remodels. They're not all created equal. I think this one is on a very, very high level. I congratulate you for what you have done, especially with regard to the architectural detail from this front picture we have of the home. And I think it should also be positively viewed that the Mesta Park Committee is unanimously approved this application.
Was that a motion, George?
No, I thought we'd have some discussion.
Okay.
So I would also note that the garage is definitely larger than 450 square feet, obviously. I think that it is minimally visible. I think that it's within a range of reasonableness to the other garages in the area. I understand that we treat garages with a great deal of care. Sometimes they get so very large that they really start to dominate the neighborhood in a way that is no longer historic. I feel that this garage, given its location and its lack of visibility and its size, are within reason and could very well be approvable with unique circumstance and condition.
I understand what you're saying, but it just doesn't seem like the history of approvals for garage sizes over the past several years that we've deviated so few times. I'm not really sure where we have deviated. We have so stuck to the 450, which was a result of our commission and staff doing a great deal of research and making a very big change to the old guidelines. So, I know we've discussed it, but it just seems like that the guidelines don't really, at least for me, it makes it very difficult for me to find unique circumstances. And maybe that's the fault of the guidelines, but they are the only guidelines we have. So anyway, it's my...
So you don't think the additional factors are...
I think everybody that comes before us and has asked for 550, 559, 600, 700, 490, I mean, we've had many people come before us, and we have continued to say, nope, we just can't find reason, and I don't think that their circumstances were that different than this circumstance. I don't see the difference in the people that have asked before here for larger garages prior to building them, and we denied them and made them agree to the 450, or made a slight, there may have been one or two times where we made a slight difference due to the size of the lot or trying to get into the garage or something, but it just seems like we've had plenty of people ask that had similar, that the unique circumstance would have been the same. I mean, we could have...
Well, I don't remember anybody ever doing a survey of the surrounding blocks.
We've had times where people have brought the sizes of garages.
I don't remember exactly.
And we've never said, if you bring that, then that will cure the situation, because all of those other people, I think, would have gone out and perhaps... Anyway, that's just my thought.
We did say we would consider it, I think. So they did.
Yeah, and the information that was researched and provided could have made it non-approvable, right? But the information provided shows that it's below what the average is. So it could have worked in your favor.
Below the average in proportion to the main house, but you're at the top end of the size.
As is my house.
Well, I'm just saying.
Correct.
Just going on the size of the garage, you're at the top end of the size. Right. You're talking about proportion to the main house.
I'm talking about, if I were to put a second story on this, that's better as far as massing and the way it looks in the neighborhood.
I don't think anybody's saying that.
Well, we're talking about massing and sizes of garages.
I think Joe's just talking about the size, footprint.
Yeah. I mean, it just seems like since the change in the guideline that we have relied on that number in the cases that I can remember. and that we've continually, asked people to reduce the size of their proposed garage to 450, which I think, we are supposed to consider in situations like this, where it's already been built. We are supposed to consider what we would have said if you are just bringing the design to us for approval. And so I think, that's just my thought on it, on trying to be fair to the people that have come before you and have asked for an additional 10 feet at the back so they could put their lawnmower or all of these other
Yes, but you also have to consider the additional factors. You're not mentioning them at all.
I feel like these factors wouldn't have been considered if you were looking at a proposed project.
Well, there's no additional consideration, the fact of the size of the surrounding structures.
I just think that there's been a lot of garages brought before us that we've denied that had very similar situations.
I don't know that we've actually denied any. I think some on the commission have asked for those garages to
We haven't
reduce.
denied them. They've agreed
and they
to
have
bring the
agreed to
size
that.
down. They've agreed to bring the size down.
Right.
That's all.
But
They have come before us thinking, hey, they had a unique circumstance, like they had big cars or they wanted a little additional storage
so
space.
to
and
you,
we said,
there's no consideration of the surrounding
we haven't been, I feel like we have not been giving any consideration to the people before.
But it's also in the guidelines.
Right, we could have, but we haven't to
We
this
haven't,
point.
yeah, right.
We haven't what?
I said we've had many garages come in the last, let's just say 12 months, and to my recollection, many of them have been, the proposal has been larger than the 450, and we have said, would you consider, if you want approval, would you consider reducing that to 450? And time again, they have said, that's not what we wanted, but if we have to get approval of our garage, we will go with the 450. And we have approved that they come back to staff and get that. That's all I'm saying. Historically, I feel like I guess, just me personally, I feel like, how can I, ask other people that have come before us to reduce to 450 and not?
We should have
That's just me
considered.
personally.
We should have considered the rest of the guideline. Then I agree with you. If somebody proposed a larger based on the size of surrounding structures, we would have considered it. But I don't know if they ever did that.
I think often we have applicants who want to move forward with a project, and although staff may have advised them you could do additional research like this applicant has, the commission may have asked them to do that, a lot of times applicants have chosen to take the 450 square footage to get approved and to move on with their project. But I don't know that that means that if they'd done their homework and come back with more information, that we wouldn't have taken that into consideration and approved a larger garage.
At least considered it.
It's not a square footage one, but recently we had the two-story garage that did a lot of research about two-story garages along the side street because it was at a corner property.
And they did in that instance, they found that there were others. We had another situation in Crown Heights, I think it was, where, they presented additional information, but we considered that it was not enough, and we denied them the right to have the second. I'm saying personally, that's just how I feel personally.
I do remember at least once we got some numbers like this, actually. It may have been about a year ago or something. And I wasn't here last month. I'm sorry, I would have mentioned this. But what I asked at the time when those people brought those numbers in was, can you tell me which of these larger garages are historic? Because it doesn't mean much to me to see, well, here we've got all these big garages. For all I know, those were, recent somehow. Who knows?
So that's a good question. You've got a note on there that under the 15 at or over 600, 3 were built after 2000. What about the other ones? Are they historic or are they new?
I don't know that.
Don't know? Okay. The website wouldn't tell you that, would it?
Well, all right,
yeah. So
they just said when they were constructed. So.
Yep. So they would be good to know if they're historic or new or relatively new.
I know that we see the first note, the proposed work has been completed but shall be reviewed as if it had not. Many of the things we're talking about, they have not done it. The garage wasn't there, and we've asked them to make it smaller, and they did that for us. To me, it's really hard to look at this nice garage and say, we want you to tear off part of it. I find that ludicrous, and I would not vote for that.
But at the same time, I feel like that, then what? Then people can build a garage, a larger garage, and come in and beg for forgiveness. I think that that is not a good situation.
Well, and I don't think that's the case, because, like Steve said, if the numbers didn't reflect what they reflect, and instead it was a much larger footprint than the average or than what was common, well, then you'd have solid ground to say, sorry. And so the guy that would just go build it thinking, well, I'll just go and get my, I'll say sorry and they'll give it to me, I don't think that's the case.
Right.
The numbers are still going to have to flush out where they flush out.
I understand.
If we work within our staff, and we are working now with title companies to try to get to applicants way before this thing happened, I think we will dodge this in the future, and I'm doing my best to do that.
When a property changes hands?
Correct.
Yeah.
We're working on a draft now to make the communication much higher to the neighborhood committees, thanks to Katie and Rita.
They wouldn't help new construction, but...
Well, and I know this doesn't bear totally, but I just want to remind you, I've built several $1 billion worth of property in this city. I do it by the book. This was not a normal situation, which I explained to you all. So it wasn't a, let's see if I get away with it.
I understand that. I'm just saying personally for me, if somebody, I just don't feel, I feel like that we have, I just want to be fair to past people that we have given permission or asked for them to make changes, and for future. That, in this situation, I'm just uncomfortable in that I feel like we're making an exception to the rule more than we would.
My understanding that part of the function of this body is to preserve value for the district. Is that right?
No.
It's not?
It's all about the design and the guidelines.
Is
There's
the
nothing in
intent
there
to-
about, no. I don't think the economic value of it has
It's a
really...
benefit, but...
It is a
not our-
benefit, but
not our
it's not
mission.
the intent of, that's not our mission that we've been given here. It has solely to do with the guideline.
So the guidelines, so what the neighborhood wants or desires doesn't matter? I mean, so they've said, we unanimously approve this. They've looked at it twice and unanimously, and they've probably gone out and looked at it.
Right.
So that doesn't matter. The people that actually live there, what they say doesn't matter.
Generally, I think that we do take in consideration the comments from the neighborhood. There's
So
not been a motion even here. so
They've
I-
unanimously approved it twice.
It's not binding. We certainly take the neighborhood PRC's recommendations into consideration, but it's not binding on us.
Well, I understand, but you're looking out after them, right? You look out for those entire districts. That's part of your function. And we have the people that live adjacent to it, who live right there, have said, we unanimously approve this. What's that?
We're looking out for citizens as a whole and enforcing the ordinance, the guidelines. The neighborhoods are advisory, so...
Right, and they live there.
Yeah, I understand. So do we.
So do we.
Doesn't always go my way either. So, where are we on this? I would echoing what Greg said, I would kind of like to know, since we're at the top end of the garage sizes, which ones are historic, and which ones were not. That, to me, is very valid, because lots of things get built we don't even know about it. I don't know. I think that's a concern. If we're going to break a sort of one of our guidelines based on that consideration, I think based on what Joe said, we better be really, clear on why we're doing it. So,
And like I said, I actually think once we did consider something like this, but I mean, who knows, I could be dreaming, I'm getting old, but, you know, I thought that they had provided some information about which ones were historic before we considered those.
Yeah.
And I mean, so that would be something I would consider. I don't know if anybody else would be interested in that or not.
Would you guys be willing to, to research which ones were historic or original?
I'd like to understand what your proposal is.
Of the garages in your tally,
No, I understand that.
Which
I'd
ones
like
were-
to propose, is your proposal for me to tear it down? That's your proposal?
oh, no, if we continue it, say, to tell us which ones of these garages in your tabulation were historic, or
No, I
which ones are
understand.
new.
Yeah, I'm willing to do that, but
That
what I'm...
might help us. That might help us. The alternative is, I don't know, is to deny it.
Or approve it.
Or approve it, but I think we need, based on Greg's comment, more information to be able to do that.
And I think he's fine with doing that, but much like the discussion I had the last time we were here, I'd hate to come back and prove that, yes, all the bigger ones are historic, and then we're still denied, and we've wasted now 3 months where we could have moved on with
We
our
could take a
appeal.
vote. I hear some support up here. I hear some not support. So I don't know. You could ask for it. We could take a vote.
The way that does... Can you go to a picture of the front of the garage, please? Okay, so you can see where the garage door is. To the left of that is a storage.
Yep.
So if I knock down that wall to where it's not part of the garage, so it's closer to 450, this magical 450,
Knock down the wall.
the north wall. So then it's not enclosed?
Oh, so it's open?
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand
What constitutes a garage?
well, what fits into these guidelines.
Well, what fits in is smaller.
Okay, so
Except
build
for that
another
one-
wall and knock the rest of it down? That's what,
No, except for that one consideration about, to me, the size of surrounding structures, but Greg was requesting more information to be able to support that, I guess, right?
Yeah, I understand what they're saying. If I'm the only one interested in that, though, that you don't want to come
I
back.
do,
If it made me happy, and, it still didn't do you any good. So, but yeah, that would matter to me.
The guideline that talks about the size of garages, I think, doesn't specify historic garages. It just says the size and massing of surrounding
Structures.
garages. Now, this is factors that the commission may consider including, but not limited to. So that's not to say that the question of what's historic and what's not isn't valid. But I think that does allow you to consider garages that are not necessarily historic. The county assessor's data will identify very recently built garages. So you can see on here that there's 4 out of 80-something garages that have been built since 2001. Now, that's not to say that others on here weren't built in the 70s or the 80s or...
So that would be the last 16 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
So out of 80-something garages, 4 of them are recent and presumably were approved, since that's all within the time frame when Nestor Park was a historic district. Other than going page by page, lot by lot through a Sanborn map and comparing, it would be fairly difficult for this volume of structures, assess
That would be hard.
which
wouldn't
of
it?
them were
Yeah.
historic.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it can't be done, but that's...
Might be impossible, Greg.
Yeah, short of the original homeowner or some descendant of them, I don't know how you confirm with certainty.
We can tell if they're old because they're usually leaning.
Right.
Anyhow, just a little levity there. Any more comments? We could try to get a motion. I think there's some support. I don't know.
So I'm ready to make a motion to approve, but I'm also the commissioner that has usually been the most liberal in garage sizes. At our workshop, I put together a number of diagrams that showed the consequences of a 450 square foot garage. And if, I know, it's quite, yeah. So I'm willing to make a motion to approve unless the commission feels that additional information is really required.
Any special, unique circumstance?
Listed in the staff report.
For
approval.
Approval.
Unique circumstance and condition for approval.
Visibility, variety of existing size of the block in relationship to the size of the garage to the size of the primary structure. Okay.
Correct.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Ready? Moved by Jeff Parks, seconded by Heather Clemmer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so let's have a show of hands. All in favor?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, all opposed?
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's tied. Do I get to vote, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So it's tied.
So there's no action. There's no action on the item because the vote is tied. We do have a commissioner missing, so we could continue the item and see if that one commissioner's vote would change the outcome.
You can't lobby either.
Can we, I mean, it's whatever you want to do. There's no guarantee there's going to be 9 people here next time either. So is there a function to move on to the Board of Adjustment?
You could vote to deny. Right? Is that what you have to do?
I mean, short of a denial, I mean, could we just be held in purgatory month after month if there's 8 people?
No, we don't have a rule that's similar to some of the other bodies where after so many votes, it's denied. So with this one, we would go with the regular Roberts rule, which would be, this is a tie vote, so no action was taken. You could ask that this body go ahead and deny your application, if that's what you would like.
Was this individual here last time?
Yes. We have, as far as being held in purgatory, we can continue it one more time, and then they have to take action, yes or no, either way. Unlike a lot of other bodies that can continue cases indefinitely.
So how does that work if we have to take action, if it's split a 4-4 vote? The commission lobbies each other to one go the other way? I mean,
Well, actually,
never had that happen.
it has the impact of a denial because the relief you sought was not granted.
So if no action is taken, it's denied?
Then it wasn't approved. So it would
Well,
have the effect of a denial.
I think different attorneys that sit in that seat differ on their advice on that very issue from board to board. So,
Probably so. They have bylaws and things, though, too.
well, no,
that may
that's just opinion on
change
Robert's
it.
rules.
So-
Whether or not a tie vote is a denial, I don't think it is.
So what would you like, Mr. Fox?
I'm enormously frustrated, so I apologize. I have 2 interested parties in this that those sales are going to fall through if we can't move forward. And I know that's no concern of you guys, but it's a concern of mine. And I just feel like I need to say this, that you do not adhere to those guidelines item by item every time. And this is a beautiful home. It was built with the desire to adhere to all the guidelines. Unfortunately, it was a bad situation that I found myself in, and we have spent enormous money to enhance the neighborhood, to bring new people in here. We have the neighborhood's vote of approval, and we're going to be slaves to this document. And that's crazy, absolutely crazy. So, I mean, I need to move forward. That's what, when I ask, what can I do to get approval? Do you want me to tear down the wall? You can't tell me, yes, that's it. I can't help that it was built. It was built. We've done everything we can. Right when I became aware of it, I went to Angela and to Katie and said, this is what transpired. I'll do whatever I can to make it right. I've been told, you look at that siding, they can't tell if it's wood or not wood. So if I would have been dishonest and lied, we'd have been all right.
I don't think
I
it's
don't think that's the
material.
intent of that board. So if you need to deny me, there's further rights, I'll go do. I just need to figure out what I can do.
Seeing as it was a 4-4 vote, there hasn't been as much discussion with 3 of the 4 no votes, but perhaps the only one would be Mr. Eddington. And I guess the question is, if we prove that the larger ones were historic, is that something that would change your opinion?
It might, depending on how close they are and that sort of thing. So it's possible. And then, of course, I'm sure she'll be back next month also. So, I mean, there would be a chance.
Katie, do you have any idea how we could actually prove historic versus non-historic?
I mean, the sandboard maps will show roughly the footprint of what was there. So to some extent, you can reference those to see, okay, we know that now there's a 600-foot garage. Does the sandboard map show a garage that was large or not? For some of them, we'll potentially have a CA. Do you have other thoughts, Angela? I mean, also it's, actually looking at them. Sometimes you can clearly tell just looking at it that it's a historic garage, or that it's clearly not a historic garage.
I'm sorry, Ms. Douglas, Tally, you said if we're not approved, that's in essence a denial?
No action was taken. There was a motion to approve.
Right.
And the motion didn't carry, so the motion was lost. And yes, that means that there was no action taken on the item. You didn't get a majority vote, which would be necessary for approval.
Okay. Thank you. You've said your opinion is that it's deemed denial.
What did you say?
I think you said your opinion is it's deemed denied since there was.
I said you didn't receive a majority of the vote, so the motion was lost. There was no action taken to approve the application. And then I asked if you'd like a vote to deny the application.
I thought you said because the approval we sought wasn't approved.
It was not approved, but it was also, it didn't carry at all. If you would like to appeal it based on not receiving a majority of the vote, that's certainly an option.
Okay. I think we'll do that.
I think you were saying that if it was continued, if it was out of continuances and we took no action, then that would be the same thing as denied. Is that right?
Now say that again.
If he was out of continuances and we had to take an action and it was a tie vote, then what happens?
Then he could certainly appeal it. The staff report would reflect that there was not a majority vote because there was a tie.
Right. And
so he wouldn't just sit in the purgatory that you mentioned. You could take it on appeal, and that's what the staff report would reflect. There was not a majority vote. There was a tie vote. And so the action that you sought was not granted.
Can we take that to the B of A?
Certainly.
As we sit here today. That's okay. Okay.
Rita,
Thank you.
does the commission have the ability to actually take a vote on denial and actually make findings for the denial?
Certainly you could do that, and that was part of the reason that I asked if you'd like a denial vote.
I prefer it move like this.
With no action taken?
I mean, it strikes me as a bit disingenuous if we had 4 that are in favor of it, one person's magically now just going to adhere to findings requesting the denial. I mean, that just, frankly, the process at that point seems to be a bit in question.
Well, the staff report will reflect that there was a tie vote.
Sure. But I just want to make sure that you believe legally that grants me the ability to seek review at the Board of Adjustment.
I believe legally that allows you to request an appeal through the Board of Adjustment. As you know, I am not counsel for the Board of Adjustment. Counsel is present
Good news,
for the
she's
Board of
here.
Adjustment, but we will not put her on the spot by asking her what she thinks at this moment. She will review that when the time comes.
Could I ask a question about this very good research that was done on a home on 805 Northwest 18th Street? Is this correct that the house is 3,053 square feet and the garage is 588 square feet, and that was approved in 2014? Is that what I'm reading? Is that what this is?
It would, according to the county assessor, it was built in 2014. We would have to check our records to see when it was actually approved.
That was before our guideline, though.
And sometimes the county doesn't show, the dates don't line up exactly right with when it was approved.
Just saying that's 1 over 450 square feet right there.
I think
It
it's
could have been before the
before our guideline. Should we continue it just to take action on it?
If
Just
the applicant would like a continuance, they would have to agree to the continuance.
I mean, what's the proper? Just let it go? With a tie vote, no continuance?
The problem with the tie vote and letting it go that way is that you are not able to express any findings to give guidance to the Board of Adjustment. So,
But I actually kind of like that. I mean, we had 4 for, 4 against.
yes,
That's findings.
it's tie. So we could submit and would have to submit the staff report that gives findings for denial and for approval. So you actually would have both findings.
And that's fair enough. Here's my concern, though. Last month, there was only 8-2. And so, and because there's only one meeting a month, at a certain point, like you said, we've got to move on. I mean, if there's only 8 again next time and it's 4-4 at a certain point.
Because you have a limited number of continuances, you would just kind of age out of the process because you're only allowed 125 days. The application has to have action within 125 days.
If we didn't have a companion item already sitting up at the Board of Adjustment waiting for us to get there,
Yeah,
perhaps it'd be different. But
okay.
I'm inclined to just, we can move on. Staff can address it however they deem fit in their record and staff report. And
Yeah.
I do think it's worse if there was a denial, because I don't know how the one person that jumped ship 15 minutes later now believes it's appropriate to deny it.
It depends on who that next person would be. If the person who's not here today came
Next month.
and voted in favor.
I was just talking about today.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we just don't do anything?
The
Move
tie
on?
vote-
We just move on?
The tie vote is recorded.
Okay.
And,
Anticlimactic, isn't it?
The entire record is forwarded on appeal.
We've never done this before, so.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Okay. Feels not right.
So
but-
sorry.
Okay. All right, so we're taking no action on that item, and we'll move on to the next one, correct?
HPCA 16-00164 at 819 Northwest 25th Street, Paseo, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Dan and Karen McLemore by Corbin Harris of Express Sunrooms for certificate of appropriateness to 1, construct screen porch elective.
Okay, is the applicant present? Okay. Want to step forward, sign in, and state your name, please. And what's doing that? Any comments on this item?
Well, good afternoon.
Hello. What's your name?
Dan McLemore.
Okay, Dan.
The owner at 819 Northwest 25th.
Okay, welcome.
Dan, have you had a chance to look at the staff recommendation?
I'm sorry?
Have you had a chance to look at the staff recommendation?
Yes, I have.
Revisions to proposed design and materials as addressed in the staff report. Have you considered that?
I'm sorry, Neil.
Have you considered agreeing to revisions in the proposed design and materials?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
We will do that.
Katie, would you tell us exactly what those are?
Staff didn't have really specific changes to the design proposed. We just raised some concerns about the kind of overall shape and massing of the proposed sunroom, and particularly the configuration of the roof form, which seemed not typical for an addition on a house like this and seemed a little complicated. I believe the materials actually were all within the guidelines. It's wood siding that matches the house, it's wood screen doors, et cetera. So I don't believe we had concerns about the actual materials.
Well, the one guideline that we usually have is the setback from the side of the house. Isn't that?
4.3.10, clear visual break between the historic building and the addition. Is that what you're talking about? So David,
And there is no break.
Right.
Right.
And that's generally one of our requirements on an
Right.
addition, is that it's set back a foot is kind of a traditional.
I thought the requirement was that there was no break.
Oh, now
we do want it.
The other way around.
Other way around.
I'd like to differentiate between the existing and the new is a point.
Right.
Okay, so the new is to be set back inside the
Yes.
existing by a foot?
Approximately, that's generally what we end up, so that you.
No problem with that.
Okay.
Makes the roof line easier.
Give it a
And
break
it's
on the
not
roof.
straight. I think then the purpose is just to make sure that, you've got the original and then you've got this addition.
No problem.
Is there any?
So the other comment was about a hip versus a gable.
There's a hip roof on the front.
Yeah, but this is a gable on the back. This is
On
a
the
gable for the
Yeah,
new.
the new roof would be a gabled roof, and the intent for that, imagine standing at my back door. Okay, what does a hip roof look like? Looks like this.
Right. well,
What
you
does
can
an
have-
open screen gable look like?
It'll be less open for sure, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it's much more pleasing, I'll put it that way, for my wife and I looking out the kitchen.
I don't see it, in our neighborhood, we have gable on the front and hip in the back. So I don't see
Yeah.
that the combination is actually a problem.
So this would be gables with the
It'd
hip,
be just kind of the reverse of that.
hip
so.
with the gable in the back.
So,
And in fact, at 710 Northwest 27th, there is a hip on the front and a gable in the back.
Right.
Original construction.
Does differentiate.
Katie, with the setback, was there any other revisions that staff?
No, if the architects and more design-trained folks are comfortable with the roof form and the valleys and all of that, with the setback, then I don't have any other concerns.
Okay. I would make a motion to approve HPCA 1600164 with the specific findings. Let's see.
You're on your own.
I'm working on it. With the specific findings, that, number one, that the proposed addition meets relevant guidelines for materials for new additions. And I'd say, and the massing and proportions of the proposed additions are compatible with the historic structure, with the condition that the applicant submit a revised floor plan and roof plan to staff prior to receiving the CA.
Showing that it's set in.
Showing that it's set back a minimum of 1 foot.
I've got one comment here. I'm just looking at your roof plan, and I saw the existing aerial. You've got a valley.
We have a dead valley, yes.
What are you gonna do? Put a cricket?
We will engineer it to handle the water.
Okay, well, because you've got a real long valley there.
Say again?
Okay, a long valley. I mean, so you're going to handle that with a cricket or something. Okay. Oh,
I was sketching, yes.
He's got a design here for you.
You wouldn't believe how many times we've sketched that.
The Dead Valley was causing me some angst, but yeah.
That's what HDPE and other things are.
Okay.
Are you,
So that will be included, what you're planning to do for that Dead Valley will be included with your revised?
Well, the HDPE will not be visible.
but could you at least respond to it in writing as part of
We
the
can.
application? Will that satisfy?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, I'm done.
He says yes.
Says yes, thank you.
These are technical advisor. Okay, anything else? Joe?
That's the end of mine. I said with the condition, with the condition of the revised drawings with the inset of the foot and at least in writing, the plan for the valley,
For the Dead Valley, yes, ma'am.
the Dead Valley.
Cricket. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Joe Meacham, seconded by Neela Crank Clements. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You're approved.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
So we can approve.
The Dead Valley as opposed to the Big Valley, starring Barbara Stanwyck. Right.
That's another one, yeah.
HPCA 16-00165 at 2324 Northwest 29th Street, Shepherd Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Vino Wasso by Corbin Harris of Express Sunrooms for certificate of appropriateness to 1 Construct Sunroom Addition, elective.
Is the applicant present? Okay.
Good afternoon. I'm Corbin Harris.
Weren't you just up?
Yeah, it's like a weird one. 2 in a row.
All right.
There was a sale.
All right, we're getting punchy.
Corbin, have you looked at the staff recommendations, and do you have any changes suggested?
I have, and I sent them to Katie yesterday. The windows that I proposed were vinyl, and Katie informed me last week that that's not allowed, so I proposed aluminum-clad wood windows. And the door, which was also vinyl, I proposed, let me find it in here. A fiberglass door, full-view fiberglass door.
What is it? I'm sorry.
A fiberglass door instead of the previously proposed door. Also, there was a discrepancy in my papers between Hardy Board and Smart Siding, and Smart Siding is gone, it's out, and Hardy Board is what I'm proposing to use on the existing addition, which right now has vinyl siding, and on the addition I'm proposing.
On this design, again, is it lining up with the original walls?
Yes, ma'am.
Needs to,
Original walls of the original house or the original walls of the addition?
Now, my roof is going to
it's
attach
just all one long line, it looks like.
along the east and west side, correct? So,
Well, the addition sets in according to the site plan.
3 feet on one side and 4 feet on the other.
Right.
No,
According to the site plan, Joe,
let me pull it
I'm
up.
looking at the roof plan, I thought, page 18, is that not?
look at the 11 by 17. It shows a 3-foot setback and a 4-foot to the addition, to the first addition.
Okay, it doesn't look like that. On page 7, will you look at page 17 and tell me if I'm...
You're right, no, on page
Or
18 and 19, it doesn't look that way.
Yeah, it looks, it's just straight.
Yep.
So which way is it?
Right. The existing addition is set in on both sides, and
Okay.
that's going to be the line that we follow. And I'm looking at my roof plan, and it doesn't express that accordingly, so.
So, where is that 11 by 17 again? This one. The back of the house has a hip, okay?
Yes, sir.
You'd extend
The front
that-
has a large gable to
You
the
extend that
west.
roof line on out into a gable.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir. And the existing addition is almost a flat roof, basically.
It looks like a gable, but you're following that roof line straight out.
On the existing addition, can
Yeah.
we see the back of the house here?
Well, it has if it's this one, that's the existing addition, and it has a hip.
No, the hip is original construction. The addition is a flat roof
It
attached
is?
to the back of the hip. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, that definitely was not presented in front of any kind of board.
Okay, now I am confused. Okay.
Do we have a photo of the existing?
Doesn't look.
Page 7 of the staff report shows the rear elevation in a photo, but I agree, I didn't realize that that was a flat roof there either. It looked like a hip roof to me.
It doesn't look
out
like
on
it
the
because the original house was square, it looked like. You can see that roof in the back.
So the proposal would be to take my gable roof and run it all the way to the hip of the original structure
original?
and
Okay.
encompass the flat roof that is there now.
Okay, if you look at page 8, there's an aerial photo, and you can see it more clearly
Oh, I
in
see
the
it,
staff
yeah.
report.
Yeah, I see it on the aerial. Yeah.
See, there's the original tip on the back.
That's
and then
interesting.
It's kind of a flat, almost a shed, but flat.
Right. Yep. So you would have a new gable run straight back to the existing.
Yes, sir.
house.
Off of the
house.
original hip roof.
Yeah.
Encompassing the now flat roof addition and over the new sunroom addition.
How close does that end up coming to the garage?
I went out this afternoon before I came here and measured, and where we set back in the room is 8 feet off of the back of the new addition. It's 7 feet from the existing garage.
So once the sunroom gets added, you'll...
Once the sunroom is added, we have a 7-foot clearance from the back of the sunroom to the front of the garage. Yes, sir.
And it doesn't block the front of the garage at all.
No, sir.
Okay. I think the architecture satisfied.
Is it just the materials that would need to be a condition? The windows, I'm sorry.
Yes. You submitted it, but just to address it since
And the
it's
windows.
in your staff report, right.
It does kind of concern me that there's several drawings that conflict, particularly page 18, roof plan, page 19 that shows a continuous roof. And, you know, it's to make clear that it is set back.
Could you resubmit those drawings?
Can I? Yes,
In-
ma'am, I can.
as a
Absolutely.
condition?
Sure. That's not a problem at all.
And on page 13, it shows dimensions of the back, 28 feet. Let's make sure they, and on your side plan...
Should be
it shows-
26 feet.
The side plan shows 26 feet, so...
Should be. When what
Well,
page is
no, the
that?
28 is to the end of the eaves. The
Oh, it is,
26
to the overhang? Oh, you're right, sorry. 26 along the
You're
foundation.
scaring me up there.
Right, so you're correct. And then your front elevation does show it set back, it looks like, on page 12. Looks like it's set back
Yeah.
on one side. Interesting.
It's the garage. Is that showing the garage in front of it, kind of?
Yeah, it's a garage in front of it. It says 26.
Any other conditions?
Okay, so revise those drawings for us.
I make a motion to approve HPCA 1600165 with the specific findings that the proposed addition with its conditions will meet the guidelines for materials for new additions. That was number 1. Include numbers 3 as written by staff. And with the condition, with the following conditions: 1, that that the drawings be revised and all match with the sizes, and also that they all show the indentation that's there, that you clearly state that hardy plank will be used versus the smart trim, that the proposed vinyl windows will be changed to the aluminum wood-clad windows, and
The fiberglass doors.
the what?
Fiberglass doors.
Oh, the fiberglass doors be changed to aluminum?
They use fiberglass doors instead of,
Oh, that they use fiberglass doors instead
forget
of
what it
what was
was.
proposed. We didn't
Right.
put that.
Yeah, there's a steel door proposed.
Instead of the steel doors.
Okay, is that motion?
And did you want,
Are you in agreement with those changes?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
and there was also the clarification that the siding material would be hardy board?
Yeah,
sir.
I include that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Long ways, okay, very good.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Joe Meacham, second by Neela Craig Clemens. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you're approved.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next item.
HPCA 16-00177 at 827 Northwest 17th, Master Park Ward 6, consideration of possible action on application of Ginger Casper Combs by Carlos Cameron of R7 Construction LLC for certificate of appropriateness to 1, remove vinyl siding required, 2, repair existing wood siding required, 3, replace repair in kind wood tongue groove board soffit at front porch elective, remove atrium from roof of front porch elective, and 5, remove mechanical equipment from windows and walls elective.
Okay, is the applicant present? Not? Okay. We'll discuss. Any comments?
I looked at this one really carefully, and it appears that staff is, did you all work with the applicant? on this?
Yes, Angela has worked with this applicant, and I think they've met several times and to get.
Although it's hard to understand, it appears that it fits the guidelines. It is
They're
I mean, it's
undoing
an
a lot.
interesting, I mean, it's kind of a tough one, the combination of what's been done to the house over time.
The history.
It's
that
a
this
memorable
would have.
house. I mean, when I
Right.
saw it, I'm like, I know that house.
I am very curious what it's going to end up looking like.
What?
I am very curious what it's going to end up looking like once the work is done.
Well, there's really, the only major difference is really the removal of the atrium,
Right?
isn't it? The other is kind of repair work, removing more vinyl siding, or removing vinyl siding and repairing it with wood. But you can see what it's going to look like from the interior photographs, the atrium.
Staff has asked for documentation of what's behind once they start in their demolition.
Right.
So if that raises any flags, then
Just for clarification, Katie, on page 14 of 26, is that standing inside the house, looking into the current, what they call atrium?
Yes, I believe so. That's looking out the,
So the original, the original wall is there, and it's going to be an open porch. Is that correct?
yes, I believe so. And there's, I think, a photo already of the railing. There's a metal railing that's within
Inside there,
atrium.
that was left.
Yes.
So that's existing? That railing is there?
Yes.
Huh, okay.
Angela, you worked with them. Was there any additional information we need?
I don't see it.
For removal of the atrium specifically, if the commission is interested in an elevation drawing that actually shows this front facade without the atrium in place, that is something I do not have for you.
I don't-
Otherwise,
No. I mean, what they're asking is just to take off the non-original material
yes, ma'am.
and repair any remaining original material.
Yes, ma'am. There's discussion as well about replacing the railing where parts are missing.
Missing.
They have not yet completed that request.
Because they can't tell what's missing yet.
Right.
So they will coming back, probably.
So they could come back if
Possibly.
they needed to replace that.
Yes, ma'am.
I think I think
there it
it's
is.
understood as part of our process that if they get that off and more work is required and it's not going to look, something's going to change, then they would be required to come back and revise that.
Would that be a new application?
It would depend on the scope of what they needed to do. It could potentially
10%?
be an amendment to the CA, or it could be a new application.
Okay. All right.
I make a motion to approve HPCA 16-00177 with the specific findings and conditions as noted by staff in the staff report.
Is there a second? Okay. It's been moved by Joe Meacham and seconded by Ann Zachris. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. That one was fairly easy. All right. Next.
HPCA 16-00178 at 530 Northwest 27th Street, Paseo, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Joe Coffin and Craig Travis for certificate of appropriateness to 1, replace both porch floors elective, 2, install new wood screens required, 3, remove non-historic windows from rear addition elective, 4, install rear sidewalk elective, 5, enclose the rear porch required, 6, install 2 sets of sliding patio doors at rear facade elective, 7, install 5 windows at new addition porch enclosure elective, 8, replace historic front louver vent at northwest gable end required, 9, create opening and install salvage window in east-facing gable toward front wall required, 10, install door with side lights required, and 11, remove blocks from either side of one front sidewalk elective.
Wow. Okay, is the applicant present? Okay. Could you come forward, sign in, and state your name, please?
I'm Joe Coffin, owner at 530 Northwest 27th.
Okay. Welcome. Got a laundry list here. Let's see.
Do you have any comments on the staff report, on the items that they suggested to continue?
Actually, the two items that I wanted to give you additional information on, one was the upstairs window. I'm in the process of adding finishing out the attic and putting a bedroom, bathroom up there. So I need the window for a secondary egress, according to Boca Code. And then the downstairs door is just replacing doors that were there. I don't think they were original because a previous person in the mid-'80s built an addition that blocked off the original back door for that side of the duplex and made a laundry room there, but there was no exit, so it only had one means of egress. And so they converted what looked like, to me, probably the dining room windows into French doors that went out that side. That's the only two things that seem to be a concern.
A little confused. Okay, on page 15 of 15, is that item 5?
'15 of 15?
It says install window in the gable end.
Yes.
Is that,
That's the one I'm talking about that we need for egress for upstairs.
and did you install that, or it was there previously?
It was not there previously.
It was not.
We actually relocated an old window that was inside the house where they added on the laundry room downstairs.
Right.
So it was an interior window that we relocated to there.
Recently?
Yes.
And, okay, and then the other was item 6, I guess, is that page 6 of 15?
That is correct.
And that's been added,
That was a door, but it was a door replaced a new door in that location. The old door was rotted out.
okay.
It was French
Were
doors.
the side lights there? Did you make the
It
opening
was
larger?
French doors.
I'm sorry?
It wasn't original. It was original triple windows, we believe, but it was French doors before we replaced it.
Okay, so you've just gone from French doors to this?
Correct.
So you did not
Yep.
you didn't take out the window?
No.
It was done? It
Correct.
had been done? But the other window, you did cut a hole in the gable end?
That's true.
Okay. Is there a picture of the curved sidewalk? Is that done, or you're asking?
It is not done.
It is not.
And there's not a picture of that specific spot. And actually, that's not that big of a deal if you want to strike it. It
So-
wouldn't bother me that much.
The curved sidewalk. I don't know if I have anything else to say. I just wanted to make sure I knew what I was looking at.
Right, right. There's a lot of things here.
This is the curved sidewalk, if you look at the page, bottom right.
I just wanted to know about the door. I couldn't tell if you had made both of the openings, but what you're saying is that you only made the opening for the window, but the opening was there for the door, but you replaced it.
Correct.
Those are the two items that did you have recommendations?
I don't have a specific recommendation. Angela's actually worked on this one more closely than I have. Did you have, on those items where we had recommended continuance, Angela, did you have additional suggestions for the applicant? Sorry.
So the attic is built out?
It's in the process, actually.
So that's part of the project, okay?
Correct.
So you want that window for exiting?
Yep. The only other gables are the brick ones you're seeing on the screen that face the street. That's the only gable that does not face the street.
With the louver?
No.
So is that then going to be the only window to the upstairs?
Correct. Yeah, because that's going to have a louver on it. It's being replaced because the squirrels chipped at the bottom half of it.
The other one doesn't have an opening? Yeah.
Because the back is hip roof and the front is gable.
Right.
Is there a certain size that window has to be?
There is.
There is?
We've talked about this before. I thought it was 2 feet.
Do you know what the code says as far as the size of the window?
I was told, but I don't have it written down.
Okay.
I understand it meets those guidelines.
This one is how big?
2 feet by 6 feet, I believe.
I think that's larger than it needs to be.
Yeah, but it's the same size as the windows in the rest of the house, because that's an original window from the house.
Yeah, but it's in the gable.
Right.
I think it could be smaller. Would you rather have a new, smaller window or reuse an existing window? I think new, smaller, but...
This is a new opening as well.
What's that?
Is that clear that it's a new opening as well, beyond, forward of the 30% mark from the back of the house?
But the unique circumstance, they need to have an egress from the converted attic somehow. That's the...
I would say
The
that
work has been done.
to make that decision, we would need to know the exact size required compared to this, at least.
Right. Yeah. It does look big, even regardless of the 30, it's forward of the 30%. It still looks...
We're willing to downsize it if that's what you require and put a wood window in there that's the
I think
size
Joe
required.
would like to know the exact
I
size.
just think that if we knew the exact size, it might be that it has to be this big, but we don't know that without you bringing
It's
that.
the square footage, and I didn't bring
Right.
that paperwork with me.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if it is close, in size, then
This is a double hung window, so actually the clear opening is only half the size
only half the size of
of the window itself, so,
it's not my area, I don't know.
yeah.
What
Different
size
type of window would probably be, it wouldn't have to be as big, like an awning or a casement.
So,
But just to be clear, the concept of providing that second means of egress forward of the 30% in a gable on the house is something we could consider, is something we would consider doing, and I think we have in the past.
it's odd, but yes.
Yeah.
As a
right.
unique circumstance.
Right.
It's a unique circumstance.
In converting that, attic space. I want to say we've run into this before.
I mean, there'd have to be, if they were converting it, there'd have to be at least there'd have to be equal.
Right. To be a functional space, right.
So we'd like to see a smaller minimum.
Well, just compare, we'd like to compare the size of what you did to the size required.
Sure.
Okay.
Is that something you need to come back with, or is that something I can work with staff on?
I think you're going to have to come back.
Oh,
Same with the door. I mean, I don't know about the door.
Where's the door?
Since the opening was there, he's really just replacing. The 30% really doesn't apply, does it? If the opening was already there. I mean, somebody already made that opening. So we're just, we're really just discussing the design of the door and the
Yes.
side lights.
If the opening was already there, then
That was already there. Was that your understanding, Angela? Did you know that there had been French doors there before?
no, I don't
Oh,
think
okay.
so.
Okay.
I don't think I understood that.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to, I mean, I didn't either. That's why I'm asking. I thought that they were both new openings.
oh, no.
But you're saying that
Yeah,
there were
upstairs.
French doors there already. You did not make that. Well, with that, I don't know about the design of the door you did. Katie, on that, would we look at the other doors, or would we?
Yes, I think we've typically, looked at what other historic doors look like on the house, if they're still remaining, and kind of think about the design of a door in that location. So a front door versus a side door versus back doors, that sort of thing.
I mean, I would be willing, I'm open to making a motion to approve what has been suggested by staff for approval and to continue item 5 and 6 to allow you time to work with staff and find out about the size of the window, and then also consult with staff and items.
Items 9 and 10, you mean?
Well, they're
Numbers 5 and 6.
numbers
items.
5 and 6, items 9, 10, and also 4, which would be the sidewalk, to bring back another site plan showing that design.
Okay. You okay with that?
That's fine.
All right, is that a motion?
I would make a motion
A
to...
start?
What?
A start of a motion?
A start? Am I going to do 2?
Yes, if you can
Yes.
do approve with conditions for 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Okay.
and 11, sorry.
Oh, and 11. Okay. I make a motion to approve items 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 11 with the specific findings and conditions included, noted by staff in the staff report.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so moved by Joe Major, second by Jeff Parks. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, those items are approved. And
I make a motion to continue items 4, 9, and 10 for HPCA 1600178 to the
February,
February 1st meeting. So the applicant can consult with staff.
okay, is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Joe Meacham and seconded by Neela Crank Clements. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, those items are continued. Thank you.
Thank you.
HPCA 16-00188 at 3200 North Walker, Edgemer Park, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Oklahoma City Public Schools Board of Education by Jack Joyner of JHBR Architecture for certificate of appropriateness to 1, construct gymnasium and covered walkway elective. The commission saw a previous application for this same project and we ran out of continuances. The applicant had been working with the neighborhood association making some revisions, and we just ran out of time. So they are back with all those proposed revisions. The design of this proposed gym has been altered, as has the location of it on the site.
I'm going to abstain on this one, too. And the good thing, there won't be a tie.
What do you say? Oh, it won't be a tie. No ties.
Hi, welcome.
I was going to say something. Go ahead. Jack Joyner with JHBR Architecture.
Staff had recommended approval, I believe.
To my recollection, the reason that we either continued or you had to go back was that we had people from the community come in and felt like that there still hadn't been enough input, but you've documented the input, the meetings and so forth, and it appears that you now they're in agreement with you?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I have heard nothing different from the last proposal.
Okay.
So it looks like maybe they're not in agreement.
We
They received an email.
Yeah.
Oh.
Jack, did we get this to you? I'm sorry. Okay. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Okay. The neighborhood association said they do support the location of the proposed gymnasium, but they continue to raise some concerns about the proposed design.
So I guess where we're at is we had gone back to the neighborhood committees and given them a deadline of we need comments on our latest design. It's been a month and a half since we set that deadline. We did not receive comments until yesterday. So our goal was to not come back in front of this commission until we were all on the same page and had agreed upon design. Well, now with these comments, if we need another continuance, the owner's another month, 2 months down the road when we need to, I feel that we've given them community ample time to have comments, and I feel that we should have had them prior to this meeting if that were the case, rather than seeing them yesterday, the day before the meeting.
I reviewed the design. I feel like that you've responded to the commission and to previous comments from the neighborhood. It's significantly changed as far as where even the footprint.
Yes, so there's two changes. The location, site location, we worked with the neighborhood to try and, better site placement for the neighborhood, the homeowners across the street.
Right.
So we've done that. The comment on the last design was go out in the neighborhood and look for design elements to incorporate into the design, so that's what we've done.
I liked what you had done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think there's some very nice changes, and the siding works better for the neighbors, and the building itself looks, I think, it's really incorporated some very nice elements in a good way. So,
thank you.
I think using the guidelines, that it's, to my mind, it follows the guidelines, and it also, the size of it and the shape, I like that much better. Anyway, I'm inclined to make a motion for approval. Okay. Let's see what staff has here. I make a motion to approve HPCA 16-00188, item 1, with the specific findings noted by staff in the staff report.
Second.
I have a motion from Mary Jo Meacham for approval, second from Neela Crank Clements. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Application is approved. Thank you.
HPCA 16-00189 at 2136 Northwest 28th Street, Shepherd, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Brandon Swearingen for certificate of appropriateness to 1, remove porch awning frame and column and infill with railing, elective. 2, remove concrete steps at side door, elective. 3, remove and enclose side door, elective. 4, remove and enclose east kitchen window, elective. And 6, replace garage door, elective.
Okay, applicant present, there he is. Nobody left, so it has to be you.
Thanks for saving me for the last. The first and the last, it worked out perfect.
No, this project was a challenge.
My boss, AKA wife, and I, we didn't get on the same page on this. There's only a few things that we are actually going to ask to be approved. We've kind of scaled back the project. One being just the old metal awning frame. We would still like to maintain the iron handrail going across the front porch there. Just remove that, the old awning that's falling down. Also, the replacement of the garage doors. We would like to replace those as well. Those are the only 2 items that we are seeking approval on.
So you want to withdraw the other 3?
Yeah, and I'm terribly sorry for that. Actually, that window that we asked to be removed for the kitchen to enclose the kitchen, we kind of weighed our options, and it's very visible from the street, so we thought our chances were very low to get that approved. So we have already rebuilt that window. So it's already been rebuilt and soon to be installed by Troy Moss.
So side door and the steps, you're not going to change those?
No, ma'am.
Okay, great.
Just, like I said, just the awning and the garage doors.
What's the... Okay.
The awning frame. Remove it and infill.
It's, yeah. The top, the railing is original, but the...
Correct.
Is there a piece in the corner? It's hard to see through the... It's still there, where it turns the corner?
No, he's going to infill, it says.
Yes. I'm sorry. That is still there. It's falling down. What we are asking for is there's going to be a 10-inch gap between the corners there.
Yes.
Have my wrought iron guy come in and fabricate a railing to continue that all the way around. We'll duplicate existing, just to maintain that continuous handrail there.
Yeah, it looks like, just proportion-wise, there's a post on the side that would come out fairly equal when you put the post on the corner. So that looks like somebody cut it at some point. Added that.
I'm sure you guys. There it is, right there. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. And the garage doors, do you have a substitution for that, since staff is saying that the design,
I'm in the process of moving, so I haven't actually seen that. I don't know if it was sent to my old address or I never received a copy of that, so I'm unfamiliar with it.
Katie, what are you saying on that?
So we allow for metal garage doors in Shepherd when they are located at the back of the lot and minimally visible from the street or public right-of-way. I believe this garage is farther forward, closer to the street than what we've... and I think we don't have...
The garage doors can be approved by staff, so since they're not approving what you turned in, are you amenable to continuing to work with staff? You don't have to come back to us for that, correct?
Yes, we can continue that to February 1st to give you that time to just submit a different door that meets the guidelines.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we'll go with that shakered panel, just solid wood.
Okay.
My partner and I went back and forth on that. He thought those metal doors would be approved, and I was on the wood door side. But yes, we will absolutely approve it or get those submitted to you.
Okay. Katie, do we have to do something if they're taking items off?
No, we will just record that they were withdrawn by the applicant.
Okay. The first one then would be, make a motion to approve item 1, HPCA 16-00189, with the specific findings noted by staff in the staff report.
Okay, second? Okay, been moved by Joe Meacham and second by Neela Crank Clements. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item 1 is approved.
I make a motion to continue item 5 of HPCA 16-00189 to the February
Item 6.
February what?
6.
6th.
Item 6, number 5, but...
Oh,
item
I'm
6.
sorry.
Second.
Item 6.
Okay, so moved by Joe Meacham, seconded by Neela Crank Clements. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item 6 is continued. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, that looks like that concludes our items. On to 7, other business, none. 8, communications reports. Katie?
We have 2017 meeting schedule, and I don't actually know what I'm supposed to report on that, other than we approved it the last time. So I think it's all been filed with the city clerk, and it's official.
Okay.
Lots of administrative approvals, a couple of items withdrawn, and an administrative closure. That's what happens when someone will submit an application that's incomplete and then not get the documentation into us in time. Our 2 historic landmarks have now gone to City Council and been approved, so they are officially landmarks. Hooray.
Which
the
are...
Sieber
Okay.
Apartments and Milk Bottle Building.
Okay.
We did not get it added on this agenda, but the HPCA 16-161, the garage, Mr. Hurst, has already filed an appeal on the denial of the smart side on the primary structure. So that will go, right now is scheduled for January 5th to go to Board of Adjustment. So we'll have to find out if they'll tack on the other item to that same appeal. I'm not sure how they handle that.
Did you skip over D, administrative closures, or did you mention that?
That's what I was mentioning, that
Okay.
that's what we do when people don't submit their documentation.
I got it. Okay. Board of Adjustment, Planning Commission. Anything new from the ad hoc committee? Joe? Anything new from the ad hoc committee?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Municipal Councilor? Okay. Next regular scheduled meeting for the Historic Preservation Commission is January 4th, 2017 at 2 p.m. Municipal Building right here. New applications for this meeting were received December 6th, which was Tuesday. New information on projects continued from today's meeting to the upcoming meeting must be submitted to staff by 4 p.m. Tuesday, December 13th. And 2, the next regularly scheduled workshop for the Historic Preservation Commission is Wednesday, December 14th, from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. It says p.m. again.
Is that happening?
So,
that's
yeah,
right.
based on the meeting that's this Friday and based on availability for next week, we think it would be best to cancel that and reschedule for something perhaps late January.
Okay.
We will have had a Board of Adjustment appeal that we can all discuss, and other items to follow up on. But I think staff will be more prepared to make good use of your time if we postpone.
So we'll announce that at the January meeting.
Yep, we'll get that on the agenda and get it posted.
I have a question.
Items from commissioners next.
Yes. Items from commissioners. Go ahead.
I just have a question. If we wanted to make changes to the guidelines, what is the procedure and how long would it take?
It is the same as any other kind of ordinance amendment. So we would draft the revisions. This commission would vote to recommend approval of it, and then it goes to Planning Commission. Does it go to Planning Commission twice or just once?
Introduction and approval?
Yeah, Planning Commission twice, and then it goes to City Council 3 times.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. So we try to, for one, we try to not do it frequently because then it feels like we're changing the rules all the time. But also because it is such a lengthy process, so we want to make sure if and when we do it, we're really capturing everything that we need to. But that being said, there is nothing wrong with evaluating things that we think need to change.
Right. There seems to be 2 items that I would that, would be, one would be garages, and two would be alternative materials, just to look at those. I mean, it just
Smart
silly
side.
not to pursue perhaps a change if we just continue to run into issues and can't resolve them.
Or tie votes.
What?
Or have tie
Or tie
votes.
votes, I mean, so,
That's not good.
right. So, I mean, it just seems like that one, I mean, I'm not against certain things, but I mean, like I said, I think, just continue, to continue to do it the same way every time. And if that's having a problem in some cases, I would be interested in, I'm just saying that in lieu of having a meeting in the future or starting a process. How long does it take? Because it sounds like it would take almost, 9 months at least.
We should get a number of changes at once if we want to do it.
And it'd take probably 3 or 4 months before that to actually have the commission research and agree. And
Yeah, in the past, we've done at least a couple of workshops on kind of lining out everything that we want to change and then drafting the language and working through it.
We usually run it by the neighborhood associations,
Right,
too.
depending on the scope of the change, we've done public meetings as well.
I mean, with all of the work that's been, I don't think it wouldn't be, it's expected that in neighborhoods right now where so much work is going on, we have a lot more challenges than, we had before. And that would be, I think, good reason to look at maybe a few things. Personally, that's what I think.
That's good. I have an item. The new director, I guess is the title, of the Capital Medical District Historic Preservation Committee, Ben Davis. You know Ben. We've talked a couple times, but he contacted me the other day. One thing he's doing is they're almost implementing our guidelines for the Capital Medical Historic Preservation Committee because they don't really have any. But another thing he's doing is sort of cleaning up his committee, and according to their rules, they've kind of neglected that over the years. And so one of the provisions is that one of the members of his committee is the chairman of the Oklahoma City Historic Preservation Commission, supposedly. So he has a vacancy. He has somebody whose term was up, and he asked me if I wanted to serve, and I said it's either chairman or his appointee. So I said I would do it. For the time being, we might talk about that if somebody's really interested in it. But so they meet the first Thursday of every month, so the day after this meeting. Yeah, exciting. But anyhow, I think it's good that we have that communication, and I'm glad that they're reinforcing their requirements because it's been a little loose and subjective. So anyhow, not a criticism, but that's the guidelines will help. That's all. Anybody else have
the Historic Preservation Conference is coming in June, and has there been kind of any movement since our last meeting on we had talked about potential ways that this commission might participate in?
So one thing that, and Rita, correct me, that we can definitely do is to kind of not host as in pay for, but arrange, act as the social hosts of a breakfast before the half-day commission workshop on Friday, because that's kind of part of our educational outreach mission and component of the commission. Rita had less comfort with the commission officially hosting a cocktail hour, because that's not really part of our official powers.
You're a wet blanket.
That sort of thing. One thing that we have talked about, and I'm going to a meeting on Monday with conference organizers, was whether potentially our neighborhoods would want to host something like that, that would be hosted by City of Oklahoma City Historic Preservation District.
That's better, actually.
And we can all come, and it will be a social gathering and not a work event, and not have our names on it. So that may be an option. And we can, I don't know yet what the neighborhood's response is to that as far as hosting something. We can discuss it more at lunch on Friday or something. But I think there's definitely the Preservation Oklahoma and the State Historic Preservation Office are thrilled for this body to be part of and host anything and everything that we want to, and that is appropriate for us to sponsor as being a city body. So.
What's going to happen on Friday? Is it going to be just like last year, or is it going to have a different sort of...
For this Friday?
Yeah,
the training. It's
commission.
similar to the previous years that we've had. We'll have, kind of a brief introduction to all the different boards, commissions, committees, so everybody hears what everybody else kind of does. They do have representatives from code enforcement coming to talk about their process and answer questions, because pretty much every single commission and committee has code enforcement questions. I think some discussion about ex parte communication and, those kinds of things, best practices, how to run an effective meeting.
Meeting etiquette.
Yes, meeting etiquette, that sort of thing.
Effective use of the gavel.
Yeah. So, I think there'll be similar components to previous years, but hopefully some new information, and it won't feel like just a total repeat.
Okay, good. Well, it was good last year. All right, anybody else? Any citizens left? Doesn't look like any, so we're adjourned.